Hi, I'm Bryan from AlphaGrowth, and today we're going to go over a bunch of stuff at Consensus 2023, things that I thought were real cool. We're going to do like a little thing here. We're going to do Twitter Spaces live. We're going to try to do that live at the same time as we're going over like 5 cool things in the space we really liked at Consensus 2023. And then a couple bearish views. All right, so starting off, I think the debit cards and rewards cards within crypto and all of the tokenomics is like super cool around basically Switch and Reap. These are these debit cards and reward cards that are going to allow you to spend your token. So I talked to both of these companies. Both were super cool and really interesting, and I really thought that what they had was something innovative, right? So debit cards and cards have been around for a long time. However, now they're starting to expand. Usually it's just with like ETH or Bitcoin. Now every chain can get a debit card. So Switch has a really innovative, they have their own chain. They have a really innovative reward system. And then I also thought the Reap Pay card was something that was super interesting, especially for like developers and blockchains. On-ramping funds is cool. There's a lot of good stuff on that, but really like off-ramping. There's like an embedded idea. If I can just kind of swipe my card and spend the token or spend my LSTs, my liquid staking tokens, swipe it, and I don't have to like always be concentrating on exit out or coming into crypto. It's something that's like very super useful and interesting. And so that was the number 1 on the list, which is Switch and Reap around these cards. Swipe the card, get the token. Some of these are available now, but I see this expanding to more and more tokens. So if you're a Pepe Maxi and you just want to spend your Pepe as you swipe your card, not a problem. You can get it eventually with Reap and Switch. And that's the first thing that I think was hot at Consensus 2023. Amazing projects. I'm just going to go over what I think I find the most interesting. Number 2, Google is coming. All right, so they announced their partnership with Polygon, but when it comes to like data and the RPC structure, BigQuery, they're starting to supply RPC nodes and track the entire chain in their Google Cloud services and BigQuery. So I met with Google there. They have some really cool and interesting ideas coming along. They're starting to get into supplying nodes, doing node infrastructure, RPC infrastructure, but really getting all of the data together. So I think that's something that's really interesting around getting the data together. These guys are monsters in the space, and as they build more and more nodes, they're effectively going to be amazing at the consistency, the RPC, the scalability of RPCs. Number 3, the Filecoin and the massive amount of storage that they have. So talking to the Filecoin team, yes, they got the Filecoin virtual machine, but they were like telling me they don't even need any more storage providers. So I think what was one of the most interesting things here is that these storage providers aren't really getting paid a lot because they got a massive supply side. So if you're looking for storage and cheap storage, Filecoin, the Filecoin virtual machine, there's tons and tons of neat storage there. Number 4, new chains. So Quai Network, they had an awesome event, was really interested in the Quai Network party. They're claiming 50,000 transactions per second on their blockchain. Very cool website, Austin native. They got some really interesting things going on. If they can pull off the 50,000 transactions per second, that's great. They also are putting an EVM on top, so it helps it with the scalability of getting more and more code and people to build on their EVM. Another one that we met with was Core and Core Blockchain. Once again, EVM, very smart, putting EVM on top of your code and chain. They have an amazing grants program as well. And I would say the last piece of the new chains that are coming are the Cosmos chains. Lots of talks around Say and within the Cosmos ecosystem, tons of chains that are coming up and very fast. Some people have been arguing on Twitter about like hitting up against the speed of light, but Cosmos is fast. finality, and we're tracking more than 50 chains coming. Met some really good let's call it an accelerator that's running events every single week within the San Francisco Bay Area around getting developer adoption to Say. So Say is launching with CosmWasm, which is going to increase the CosmWasm growth. I would say that would probably be the number 2 best kind of language to go after in terms of developer adoption after EVM and Solidity. And so Cosmos is going to be growing, in my opinion, over the next couple of years, because as more and more CosmWasm developers become, it becomes easier and easier to get dApps on the chain. And that's what really drives chain adoption is dApps. Core technology, what new dApps are allowed, and then basically allowing those dApps and dApps developers to build on the chain. Nibiru, these guys are rad. They're building a perps options protocol that is really smart and super capital efficient. So I'm really bullish on these guys. I've known with the founder for a while. Very smart. One of the smartest people I have, in this space. Built a very cool chain. They're fast builders. There's a lot of action. I mean, even on their Discord, they're playing these games and growth games to like really drive massive amount of early user adoption for an airdrop. So there's a couple of chains that I think are interesting that are coming. And the 5th thing that I'm most excited about is native.org. So native.org is an embedded DeFi play. So you take the DEX, you embed it on your site, you're on your meme coin site. Why give the trading fees away to people who are not your core clients? So instead of like these big DEX pools, native.org is an embedded trading layer. So if you have distribution and if you have a large enough user base, effectively what you can do is run your own white label DEX right on your website. So you get the trading fees instead of sending the trading fees to the Uniswaps, the Sushi. It's kind of like a V2 AMM. You can do your own liquidity incentives. You can do your own bonuses on the people that are trading on your DEX. Very cool play within the embedded DeFi space. I'm excited to talk to these guys. All right, so quick pitch about AlphaGrowth. We've recently helped Kava bring over 70 dApps to the space. Kava's token price is floating, got as high as 10th in TVL and almost 300 million in TVL. I'm Bryan Colligan from AlphaGrowth. We bring dApps to chains, something like native, right? Bring them to your chain, get them a grant, get them incentives to get started, to really grow out the entire ecosystem. That is what we do, helping projects match with chains, helping chains match with projects and their criteria. Cool. So now let's switch to a couple bearish thoughts. And this is, how do you say it? Not as cool as it needs to be. But let's talk about zombie chains, right? So our job is to match projects to chains. And we go to a lot of chains and say, how are you going to grow? How are you going to get the best projects, right? So the anecdote that we say is that you open up your iPhone, there's no apps on the iPhone, your iPhone is worth nothing. Similarly, if you have a blockchain without hot dApps, your blockchain is worth nothing. So that's what we're doing here at AlphaGrowth. And fundamentally, if you don't have the hottest and latest and newest dApps, people are going to go to the other chain that has those dApps. So it just is what it is. And I'm not calling out and saying anybody who is a zombie chain. So, I would say if you're looking at a zombie chain, they canceled their grants program. They're not really effectively growing in terms of dApps. Announcements are slowing down. Token prices consistently going down because the new dApps create demand. So you have to continually buy. Think of it as like Hollywood video. You have to have like Hollywood video or Blockbuster video. Back in the day, you had to have the new releases. If you don't have the new releases, people are going to go to another video store, right? So it's important for chains to have the new releases, the new things to do, the new games to play. And if they don't have a new game to play, these chains are going to start to go down because people are going to go to the chains that have new releases. All right, another thing I'm bearish on, I'm going to actually call these guys out, is trust machines and ordinals. Companies that are building on Bitcoin network itself. Big B Bitcoin network. Now this might be like a little bit of a hot take, counterpoint, unpopular opinion, but I don't believe that the way that the decentralized ecosystem is going to work is going to end up on Bitcoin. And the reason why I believe this is that it's just not capital efficient enough to really engage and really get enough incentives for builders to build theirs. So capital efficiency means that how much capital is available and incentives that are available to build on Bitcoin. There are none. Now, their thesis as a builder is, hey, I'm going to build on Bitcoin because there's this huge liquidity base, right? When people think of the underlying currency as store of value or digital gold, they're not thinking about how I can spend the gold. They're not thinking about how I can use this gold in apps. That's 2013, 2014 narratives. Hey, we're gonna have this Bitcoin and we're gonna toss it around to all these different apps. No. Bitcoin is just Bitcoin. It's a store of value. It doesn't evolve. These developers that are building, and listen, these guys are wicked smart. I just think the strategy is off. I think fundamentally, I don't believe that people with Bitcoin are gonna plug Bitcoin in to do DeFi on the Bitcoin network. It's 10 minutes a block. It's slow. You have to abstract the trust to everything that builds. It has to build a whole bunch of trust on the Bitcoin network. If you're going to build ordinals, if you're going to build dApps on the Bitcoin network, I'm pretty bearish on that. So even though I met the team from Trust Machines, pretty bearish on the idea on building Bitcoin ordinals. Cool. And I think that's a couple things that I'm bearish on. Oh, meme coins. Really nasty conversations around meme coins. I mean, the real true builders in the space were, fading Pepe. We knew what was going to happen. We already seen the pump and the dump of Pepe. This is going to happen again and again with these meme coins. They're going to pump, they're going to crash. And so that was another big bearish conversation in the space at Consensus 2023. And the last bearish thing I'll say is infrastructure for infrastructure's sake. Now, it's in the bear markets, it's pretty stylish to say, hey, I'm going to be building infrastructure. Oh, I'm building DeFi infrastructure. But I feel that a lot of some of the newer chains or some of the builders that are building in this space build infrastructure as a way to kind of stay in the space, but not really have any impact. So tons and tons of infrastructure builders out there. We're building these different ZK methodologies, these different EVM layers on cryptology. I feel like every single ZK new chain is building some sort of new encryption methodology and trying to innovate there when there's a couple of that already exist that already make a lot of sense. So building infrastructure for infrastructure's sake, I'm also bearish on. What I'm bullish on is what is the utility, what is the champion dApp that comes out of this infrastructure. And so those are a couple things that I'm bearish on. So if the developer or the team can't really articulate exactly what's going to come out of building the infrastructure, I would be very wary. So let's recap. A couple things very bullish on in the best finds of Consensus 2023. Rewards cards. Switch, very bullish on. Be looking forward to working with these guys. Reap Global, very interesting. You put in your token into the debit card, you swipe the debit card, you don't have to worry about transaction fees and selling to get to fiat before you go work in the real world. Number 2 was Google is coming. So they're building out nodes, they're building out RPCs, they're tracking all the data. They have massive data sets on the Ethereum network. They recently partnered with Polygon, and they were talking about their plans to go to every single chain, especially in the EVM world, and potentially Cosmos later on. So Google is coming, and they're bringing all of their compute power and storage power with them. Speaking of storage, number 3 was Filecoin. Massive amounts of cheap storage. They have more storage supply than they do have demand for their supply. So you can get gigabytes of storage data for a penny a year. It's absolutely insane. The cost of storage now is plummeting to zero. So if you have very storage intensive app, DApp, going after Filecoin and looking at Filecoin. Or you can go to Google, and if you're a funded startup, you could, they have codes now for funded Web3 startups for like $200,000 in free services. So that's pretty cool. New chains, that was number 4 that we're excited about. Looking at Quay, Core, and the growth of Cosmos. So we're tracking 50 some projects within the Cosmos ecosystem. Core, it's an EVM, very fast, very scalable. Quay network, 50,000 transactions per second, and very cool chains that are coming. And finally, the 5th thing that I'm very bullish on is embedded DeFi, and that would be native.org as an example. With these native dexes, if you have distribution, if you have an audience, forget trading on Uniswap or SushiSwap or whatever dex that you're most comfortable with. Like, as a company, you want to capture those trading fees and that trading volume, and you can do that now with embedded DeFi. Bryan Colligan from AlphaGrowth here. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to open it up to questions on Twitter Spaces and see kind of who else is here and available. I'm going to be doing this a couple different times and figure out if this works. If it works, I'm going to continue to do it, throw this video up on YouTube, take the Twitter Space and push it out there and get more people involved and interested in what you are interested in. So if you want to join in on the conversation, raise your hand or throw some comments in, interested in what you saw at Consensus 2023. Cool. Thanks for your time.